let's just pick up from there. So last thing I was saying was that you're able to change the order in which IIS will scan for a default file, starting with default HTML ASP, then index, and then IIS start. So the default file that gets rendered when you browse to localhost is IIS start. There it is, IIS start.html. I just created one, index.html, and I just gave it the text hello world index. All right. So let me browse to localhost again and see if IIS is going to flop me. And it is flopping me. Ah, there we go. I just control refresh. Control refresh usually flushes the cache when it does a refresh. All right, so there we have our nice, simple yet elegant index.html page overriding our default, well, our presumed default page. All right. So similarly, if I wanted I start to render above all else, I can just click it and then I have the move up and down options here. I can just disable it. So it's in the list, but I don't want it to be used. I can just disable it. All right. Give me a moment, guys. Sorry again. All right. Yeah, so I have it in the list and I want to disable it. I can do that. I recommended that you move it to the. All right, so they'll give you little recommendations here and there, but I'm going to keep it enabled. But index is above it. So if I move it above index, and then I'm going to get a warning, the list order will be changed for this feature. If you continue, then yada yada yada. Yes, I know what I want to do. Don't ask me anything. And then I moved it up. And then if I reload this page or reload localhost, then I'll get back my IIS start. So pretty much that's how you can reorder that. Right. So that is how that works. I was actually in the meanwhile researching how you would do that in Apache. I don't know if maybe I didn't ask Google the question properly, but I've never actually done it in Apache. But even right now, I'm teaching web development, and I just tell them to save yourselves all the heartache in the future. And I mean, outside of ASP.NET, because ASP.NET is going to handle that default page and whatever. But whether they're doing Ruby or PHP or even simple web development, always start off with your home page being called index.php or index.html or index.htm, whatever it is. All right. Now, in terms of hosting sites, because a part of the requirements will be for you to host sites both on your machine and well on the internet itself. My workflow is that each time I have a site, I put it in its own folder. All right. So, like for instance, with WAMP is 4 point. I did not know it was that big. Anyway, sorry. So WAMP, and then I go to www. All right. Now you'll see mine is nice and I have folders for each thing that I do. So if I want to create a new folder, a new website in WAMP. So I want a new PHP application. I spin up a new folder and I say, let's say my hello world. Of course, I stay away from spaces, so I use underscores. I was really just giving an example why you see this one having spaces, my dream weekend. But I can try to do that. Yes. All right. So what was I saying? New folder. Right. So my new site. All right. Now I have my new site. If I look at it if I refresh this, then what will happen is that you'll see it listed now in, if I can do the assignments for you. All right, while you write the explanation for that, I'll continue explaining. All right, so you'll see the new site that I created here, my new site. And then if I say slash my underscore new underscore site, then you see that it's trying to browse to it because it's an empty folder. You can disable directory browsing also, which is usually something that you'd want to do. So we can go through that another time though. All right. So once again, it will always look for index. So I'm just going to take the same index file and I'm going to say save as, right? And I'm going to find that folder that I just created, my new site, and just expedite the process, my new site. No, I'm not very kind. .html. All right, we can try default. So I'll save it and there we have it .html. So when I refresh this just by going localhost port 81 my new site and then I refresh, then it's going to load the content of my index file first. All right. So as per Sheldon's request, let's just rename this to default. Default. All right. And let us see if it does the same thing now. So Apache does not look for default. Apache looks for index. All right. Another experiment I like to run is if I have one as default.html versus index.html. So let me resave this, right? As opposed to index.php, which one would it load first? So I'm going to just rename index.php so that we know which file is being loaded. So I'm going to refresh and I will see it favors .php. All right. So you see you have two indexes. So it has its own built-in hierarchy. I'm pretty sure you can rearrange it. I've never had to do it, but I can research it so that if you ever want to try, I can show you, or at least I can point in the right direction. Right, but I know the built-in hierarchy, it favors PHP and then it clearly favors HTML, but above all, it favors the word index, the name index. All right, and similarly, like we just saw, IIS has its own penchant for index, but it ultimately prefers the words default. Let me just move this back down and clear all annotations. All right. So I don't know if there's anything you guys want to add, ask, recommend, or any experiment you want to run. And before I even get there, sorry, I didn't remember that I did not. So I did that with WAMP. I just need to show you with I think with WAMP you'll see something like htdocs. I think you'll see htdocs at the C drive level. So if you're using XAMPP, I don't know what I just said. If you're using XAMPP, um, you should see htdocs as a folder. And here Shane is guiding me and letting me know that editing the ht access file may change that order. All right, so you guys can let me know for sure. Try it or open the ht access and see if that configuration is in there for you. All right. But similarly, if I want to have a site running on IIS, I can go into the inetpub www root, and then we already experimented with a file. So I put in that index file, and we already saw where index will trump IIS start. So I'm just going to delete index because I like the big blue pretty intro screen. All right. Right, so I have my new site here. So when I go back to my management console, and remember over this side is listing everything that is inside that folder. So if I, on the sites, if I click default, and if I refresh, then you'll see the new folder coming up. Right, so you'll see the website come up. Now, generally speaking, well, let's try to browse to this website. So you see browse port 80. Let's see what happens. If I browse port 80, I'm clicking it, nothing is happening. No browsing is going on. No man, go on man. Yeah. All right, so I tried to browse port 80. Oh, sorry. It was opening up in my other IE instance. All right, so here it is. So we're browsing to localhost / my site. So pretty much the administration, the browsing, the setup, it's pretty standard across the board. All right, it's the same configuration really. So the crux of the matter is that when you're ready to have a site, you want to put it, create a folder. So if it's IIS, it's inetpub www root. And if it is WAMP, then you say WAMP64 www. All right, and you create your folder and then you just remember your port number and browse to it accordingly. All right. So that is pretty much it on the primer for web hosting or web server applications on a machine. So if you can do it on your Windows machine, you can do it on a Windows server. Now, in terms of those who have Mac and Linux, the first assignment, really, I just want a screencast of you configuring the two servers to run separately and showing me that you can browse to either site hosted on either server on the same machine. So once again, the instructions are unique to IIS and WAMP. So Windows users, those instructions are specifically to you. If you're a Linux / Mac / other user, just show me, have a screencast showing me that you have two web servers running on the same machine and you can browse to individual sites without any interruptions or interference, pretty much. All right. The instructions I think are pretty clear. I think I need to update the dates because I forgot to change the year to 2018. They're kind of living in the past, I guess. Right. But pretty much the instructions are if you have to cast the setup. No, you don't have to cast the setup. No, you don't have to cast the setup. Um, Pretty much I just want to see the configuration. So you don't have to cast to set up the installation and so on. Just at least cast where you go to the configuration. And I know you know where to change the configuration. And then you show me that the site runs having configured the thing that particular way. All right, so that's really the major part. Please, no lorem. Well, I outlined it in the assignment. No lorem ipsum. All right, you can go to a client and give them lorem ipsum. So I want you to treat this like you're getting money. Well, treat it like your grade depends on it. That's a good start. But ultimately, I love telling my students that I want all of my students to operate as though my assignments were given by a client who is going to be paying. So treat it with the same level of seriousness as if you know you're getting paid to deliver this thing to a client, right? Practice makes permanent. So if you can practice that just for a grade, then you'll be even greater when it's just for money. All right, and I think that's a reasonable expectation. All right, so the assignment files are in the Dropbox. I'll make the adjustments to the dates, but if you feel as though you can do the assignment and hand it in, feel free to get started on it. Feel free to get started on the assignments, and please adhere to the delivery guidelines. If you're unclear about something, do let me know via email, or you can contact me otherwise, and then, you know, hopefully we can proceed past that. So I have a few things I would love to show you guys. It's like every time I teach this course, like 5 new technologies get released, and there are 5 new ways to do something. So actually I enjoy teaching this course because it forces me to keep up to date, because I can't afford to come and still be teaching Cold Fusion and Java server pages when we're now at Node.js and Angular. You understand? So I actually enjoy having to keep and stay fresh so that I can relate to the great Mac and Linux users who clearly have surpassed the limitations of Windows. All right. So that's it for class. One request came in if I can upload to YouTube. So what I'll do, I'll just create a channel using the same email address that I have, and I'll just upload the lessons. I'll just set them as unlisted still, but if anything, I'll just invite you all to the channel so you can have that subscription to it. Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah, I probably should be doing this professionally, don't. All right. So that's it for class. Do have a good night. If you want, you can get started on the assignments as soon as possible once again. And I look forward to our next session where we will start looking at, let me just look at it quickly, at security. All right, so next class we'll do security and look at all the pain points of having a website and how we can go about mitigating them and being good webmasters and mistresses. I'm no security expert by no stretch and means, but you know, a little knowledge can go a far way when it comes to website design. All right, yes, thank you, and the same to you all. All right, bless.